Hello everyone. We'll get started here in a few minutes. Well, I don't know what the meaning of life is. I know what the answer to life is, and that's 42. That's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Just don't know what the question is, right? Sorry, I had to get in a reference there to what might be. Boy, I wonder if people even read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy anymore. I may have dated myself with that reference there. But hey, Peter, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hey, Cyber, welcome. That it is. It's the answer to the question about life, the universe, and everything. But now you just got to figure out what the question is. Yeah, that was... Boy, that was a very big change in my science fiction reading growing up. I had never read anything like what Douglas Adams wrote. It was an introduction to British humor and satire and everything else, so it was an amazing change for me. I was young when I read it. Now, I'm telling you, Cyber, it does that to you. I'm afraid of the number of hours I have listed on Steam between early access and now. That it is, Peter. The Earth is a giant computer that was made specifically to figure that out. And that's, Cyber, that's not uncommon. The sorcerer is... well, I'm trying to best how to explain it from a tabletop standpoint. Sorcerers are pure magic users. They don't need to get proficient in magic. They are born with it. It is part of who they are and what they can do. So the approach to utilizing a sorcerer is quite a bit different from the other classes, the other magic using classes that, you know, spend their life dedicated to learning it. A sorcerer is a fountain of raw magic, and that's what the sorcery points try to illustrate, in that the sorcery points allow you to do additional things with your spells that other magic using classes cannot do. And that's where the whole font of magic comes from. You are basically a conduit for magic to flow through you. And you spend those points to gain various additional effects to your spells. So, flexible casting, I mean, from a tabletop perspective, you can use sorcery points to create spell slots, to get additional spells back. You can use it for meta magic options, to increase range of your spell, to empower it for additional damage, to extend duration of it, to quicken it, or to twin it, so that you can, you know, add in additional effects that normally would not be possible with any of the other spellcasting classes. It takes the spells of the other spellcasting classes and allows you to morph them into something entirely new. And that's what you use sorcery points for. They're basically a way for you to balance that entire mechanic, so that you're not able to just twin spell after spell after spell and cause multiple damage to multiple enemies, and that sort of stuff. So your sorcery points are just like your lay on hands charges and your bardic inspirations. They are a limit on your ability to add meta magic effects and create spell slots with your character. So they can be incredibly powerful, especially late game. Being able to add additional spell slots. You can't, I don't believe, and it's been a while since I played a sorcerer, but I don't think you can create spell slots higher than level 5. I think level 5 is the highest you can create, which is perfect for the full version we have with the level cap where it is. But being able to create higher level spell slots to be able to upcast spells and then twinning those to create additional damage to different enemies or to empower them is, yeah, like I say, it can almost break the game in certain respects. So I've seen sorcerers almost one-shot Raphael in playthroughs with his 666 hit points. So yeah, it's the sorcerer is an entirely different way of thinking about magic. You don't think of your spells just on the basis of the spell description anymore and what it can do. You think about your spells more along the lines of, what am I going to be able to do with these spells to with my meta magic to really highlight the abilities of the individual spell. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Like I say, I've seen a warlock sorcerer build twin and empower Eldritch Blasts that just wreak havoc on a battlefield. And it's, like I say, it gets to the point where it's for single target damage, it's almost overpowered. Now, once you've done that, you've utilized quite a few of your sorcery points to do something like that. So you might not have much left in the tank after that. But again, I've seen a lot of builds that are extraordinarily powerful. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question or not, or helped illuminate things at all anymore. I haven't played a sorcerer in the game, but it is a sorcerer multi-class is one of the more popular builds in the game. I think it's second behind the warlock paladin combination, and you'll find multiple builds for what they call sorlocks that content creators have created to showcase their abilities. But yeah, I was incredibly interested to see what the sorcerer was going to be all about when it was created. From a rules perspective, I was incredibly interested in seeing what it was going to be about. And it's been very interesting. Hello, Lord Henry. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I think I'd have to go back and remember. I think sorcerers were introduced in either 3rd edition or 3.5. Maybe they were introduced in 3rd edition and then updated in 3.5. It's been a while. I'd have to go back and look. But they haven't been around forever. They've, similar to some other classes, they are not one of the original core Dungeons and Dragons or AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons characters. I think they came in 3.0. Yeah, and that's exactly it, Peter. I've seen some things happen in the game that I know a DM would not allow with the use of your sorcery points. And I saw it was broken upon full release of the game. You basically almost had a mechanic where you had unlimited sorcerer points and you could one-shot anything. They fixed that, but I'm still not entirely sure it's balanced for how some of it is utilized. But again, I haven't played it in the game itself, so I know from playing a sorcerer in the past that my dungeon master certainly wouldn't have let me utilize my sorcerer abilities to cause, 400 hit points worth of damage at level 12 on a single target. And so but sorcerers are also originally intended to be even more than because wizards, you can choose which subclass you would like to focus. Evocation is your damage dealing, conjuration, that sort of stuff. Different classes that can turn your wizard into either damage based or AoE based or buffing based or something like that. Sorcerers are really intended to be all about the damage. They are intended to be your wreak havoc type of magic character, the magical version of your barbarian, so to speak. So they should be able to cause more damage than other spellcasting classes from that perspective. But yeah, what I've seen people in the game push is probably a little bit over the top. So we will go ahead and get started here. Welcome everyone to today's live stream, episode 16 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Bard gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval, and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So, from an admin note, just going off of what we talked about last week, I have been catching up on updating the videos. I've been starting from the farthest ones to the newest ones, so I'm hoping to be completely caught up with the editing on all the videos this week. Again, I apologize for all of that. I never should have allowed it to get that far behind or lax that much, but hopefully we'll get that cleaned up this week. The house is 99% done, and I'm quickly finding out that that last 1% is a lot. So not letting them leave until everything is perfectly correct is taking a bit of time, but should be able to get through it this week. So again, stick with me. I apologize for that. So I think that's it for the admin notes. Nothing new from the game front this week. So on our recap, at the end of last week, we began our venture into the Underdark. And we dealt with a few things right when we got here, and we picked up Valar Aluv. We explained a little bit about it at the end of the live stream, and that's where we're going to jump right back in. We're going to do some more exploration here in the Underdark. We're going to possibly, I'm thinking about it, whether I want to do it right now or if I want to wait, have an encounter with the Bulette, and then we're going to continue on toward the Myconid colony. So, a couple of different things to keep in mind here as we go. You can encounter the Bulette in multiple different locations. One of the first locations is here, down in this area. Can get incredibly dangerous because of the chasms that are all around you. You can also encounter the Bulette here in this area, which is a little bit safer, especially if you approach that area from here. And I think that's probably what we're going to do. We moved away from the drow encounter area and moved over here to pick up the sword from the stone, so to speak. But I think we want to go back that direction and kill the Bulette before we go into the Myconid colony. And there's a reason for that. So while we're here, let's do a couple of other things.
Have a lot on my mind. And, well, in it.
Okay, so getting unlucky with a lot of those picks.
Moving ahead.
Okay, so we're going to head back in here and head over and see if we can get the Bulette to spawn over here. We did already, as you remember, clear out this area over here. So we're free to advance down this direction. Alright, so I think we're about where we need to be. We're kind of... I'm going to check my action economy here.
Not reaction.
Shouldn't have wished to live in more interesting times.
We should be okay to do this. Okay, so now let's quickly head down here. And see if we can get it to trigger. Okay, so we did. Okay, so the Bulette is going to pop up here. And I want to make sure that...
Keep a blade close. Just like that time.
Okay, so... Making sure everybody's still here. Okay, so everybody's still here. For a second, I couldn't I couldn't see my bard, and I was wondering if she had gotten knocked off, but her portrait was still fine, so...
Come on.
So here we've been knocked into combat with these three, but we had saved Astarion. We had kept him out of combat by kind of moving him over here and putting him into hiding behind the Bulette. So the Bulette is going to get to attack before Lae'zel does. So at this point we want to try and cause as much damage and debuffing as we can here to the Bulette before it gets an attack. And I still have the advantage here, so good.
I wonder if this is worth the cost.
So as part of that, we want to try and get in a Dissonant Whispers to cause disadvantage on the next attack. We can, because that way we can cause some damage here. And I do want to examine the Bulette. Okay, so no resistances. So its wisdom is not getting any additional bonuses to saves here. But we want to create a disadvantage on its attack rolls here. So we're going to try and get in a Dissonant Whispers, 70% there. Vicious Mockery still also 70%. Okay. And then we are going to give a combat inspiration to Lae'zel as well.
Battle favors the fearless.
Now here, if I move away with Will, I'm going to incur an attack of opportunity. And I don't want to. With Will, his armor class isn't the highest armor class, but it isn't bad. It's 17, but I would prefer not to incur that with him. So let's see if the strength is pretty high, so I don't think it matters if I do that. I'm just looking here. So 55%. I might as well start off with a hex here. And I think I'm going to haste Lae'zel here. Okay, good. That worked out well. And now for...
There's blood in the air. Leave no trace.
Okay, a good, nice crit from the Starian. We'll get in an offhand attack as well.
Time to strike.
And now Lae'zel. And we will see how well this works. Again, hopefully we can take out the vast majority of the Bulette's hit points right here. So as far as the rest of it, it doesn't really matter from her abilities. So this is a monstrosity, so she is benefiting from Feller of Monsters with the advantage. And that's what I said earlier about Gandrel's aspiration. So you get the Feller of Monsters trait. That applies to all attacks that Lae'zel is going to make, not just the ranged attacks. So here, attacking with her main hand weapon, you can see she has advantage on this attack because of the Feller of Monsters trait up there at the top. So with the additional bonuses that she's getting a lot out of this. So I think at this point, if we go all in here, that drops it to 64 still. But I think that's still a good way to go here. We've gotten the advantage and the additional bonuses to hit. Plus, she's got a bardic or a combat inspiration. That was big. So hit for 22. Hit for the 4 psychic damage. She used Valiant damage. Does she not have Valiant damage on Ask anymore? Oh, she doesn't. Okay, and she rolled a 1. She rolled an 8 on her Valiant damage. So huge damage done there by her. And now we're going to go in again with her extra attack. Another 20. Now, again, with her second action from haste. Okay, she missed there, so we'll go in again. And that is the easiest Bulette encounter that you're going to find. Coming down here with level 5, especially with a pure fighter and someone who can cast haste on that fighter, can make a lot of these encounters somewhat trivial if you can get past the initial damage phase. So there was nothing about that was going to not go badly for the Bulette, and you saw that, played out. So what you get here is the Blood Guzzler garb from searching the Bulette. The Bulette has an interesting trait in Grievous Retribution, where if you take damage, then the wearer gains Wrath, which is, again, just a +1 bonus with your melee weapons. So utilizing a non-armor wearing character, so your unarmored barbarians, your monks, and things like that, the Blood Guzzler garb can be a very interesting set of clothing to utilize starting out. So the reason we killed the Bulette is going to become more apparent here as we go. And Now I'm debating whether or not I want to diverge and go off script a little bit so that I'm different from the Paladin playthrough. And I think I am. You know, I think that makes for something a little better for you guys. Instead of heading to the Myconid colony, no. Debating. Because there's something else that I want to do. No, I will change things up.
How much farther
I'll
can we
go this way. And we will change things up here. Okay, so don't forget the chasm creepers that are placed all around this area. Okay, so in here we have some cocoons that we can search. We have a book here on educating the faithful, which again talks about Lolth, and which is the drow spider god. It gives you a little bit into Menzo Baranzan history and that sort of stuff. So something very interesting to read from a lore perspective. Pick up the chasm creeper, and then we'll get Astarion to unlock this chest.
Crooked touch.
Whoops. Okay, I do have the gloves of thievery on. Okay, so my total bonus is 12. Might as well up that. Yeah, 32. That's a pretty good roll. Okay, and in here you get the drow studded leather armor. So the difference here is basically the spider silk gives you a +1 bonus on stealth checks. The studded leather armor gives you essentially the same with a +1 to stealth. The spider silk also gives you advantage on constitution saving throw checks, whereas the drow studded leather armor doesn't. That's the main difference between these two. Other than that, they are the same. There is a slight aesthetic difference between the two, but not much. We do have another antidote. We have a basilisk oil, which is again nice. And we have a creased page that we can read, which is basically a prayer to the spider god Lolth from the drow.
Never a dull moment.
And again, you get to see how picturesque the Underdark is. You can Misty Step from here over to this location. However, you can reach this location also from a different way without needing Misty Step, so no real need to spend a spell slot on it.
On my way.
And I forgot that I accidentally drank an elixir of the Colossus previously, so that's why I am I'm larger in size than everybody else. So it gives me an additional 1d4 damage. I have advantage on strength checks and saving throws. And my carrying capacity is increased, but it was purely an accident. So now down here, we're going to encounter more torch stalks. We've seen these previously, and I'm going to take out some of these from up here. before I go down.
Don't mind if I do. There's tunnels everywhere. Who would dig these? And why here?
It's another clue to the Bulette that we've already encountered. Just going to finish clearing these torch stalks out. Okay. And now I can bring everyone else down here. Okay, Lazel.
Must be one hell of a mole.
Indolence breeds madness.
At least things have stayed interesting.
Alright, so once you're down here, you have a few different directions that you can go from here. And I think we're going to head over this way first. There's a very interesting encounter here. Okay, and again, here we're going to be jumping, and I want to be careful with how we jump here. So I'm going to split the group and pull everybody across one at a time.
Defender of the people.
Eager for battle.
Just because, again, and I've said this before, I don't 100% trust the pathing in this game.
Sharp as
I have seen it fail me way too many times. And I don't feel like delaying my progress to handle a revive or something like that just because the pathing in this game decided to crap itself. So,
No one back home will ever believe this.
okay, so we do have a skeleton over here that we can search for the Helm of Autonomy. So this is basically proficiency and wisdom saving throws. So if you don't have anybody else that's wearing anything for a helmet, you might as well. There's not a huge benefit to it in either way. Okay, now we can group everybody back up. And we can head down the cragged rock here. This is going to take you into a new area called the Festering Cove. And there's a very interesting interaction going on down here. And it's an interaction that you can play multiple different ways. So right now, when you come into this area, you don't have to worry about anything. The Kua Toa who are down here are not hostile to you at this point. And you can see that we have a lot of them around here. So you are free at this point to explore the area a bit. Okay, we have a net here that can get us down onto this lower level. We can move over here. You see there's a drawing, a cool drawing of another Kua Toa here on the ground. There are some fish laying all over that you can pick up for camp supplies.
Maybe I need more pockets.
There's also some laccolite for some crafting supplies. And a message in a bottle. So that gives you the curled paper here. And this is, we encountered Donnie before. So Donnie is writing a message to his dad, and his dad is dead. He said that he read a book that says all rivers find their way into the river Styx. When you get it, can you write me back in Baldur's Gate, or maybe come visit? I'll write again when I get more paper, Donnie. So it's a real interesting thing to a detail to have been thrown in the game, so to speak, but nothing that's overtly useful. So again, the laccolite, we have a bunch of gold over here that we can pick up. Well, I shouldn't say dead. I should say that he's in one of the levels of hell. How's that instead? That was a little imprecise of me. So the Ecstasy of Murder talks about Baal, and you're going to learn more about Baal as you go. Baal is one of the key factors in the whole Dark Urge
Careful, I'm behind.
character set and playthrough.
This way.
Okay, so we do have a lot of crafting ingredients here and a bronze ingot.
Let's get going. If not over, then through. That might be worth a look.
And there's the dirt mound. And here looks like some camp supplies, and that's really about all we're gonna want. So before we go in here, going to empty out a bunch of these. Okay, and now we're going to head back in here with our druid. There's a barrel of fish here we can search, which is going to have more camp supplies. Always forget about that. And there won't be anything else out here except another fishing rod. And again, no use for fishing rods right now in the game, but who knows, maybe later. Now, we're going to go in here and deal with this encounter first, before we deal with the gilded chest and that sort of stuff, because I don't want characters wandering around over here and triggering this. So, we're going to go in here with our bard first. And... okay, so if things go badly, I think we're still going to be okay.
Time to press ahead.
I am going to split my group and take Astarian. Put him up here.
Very, very quiet.
No time to rest.
Okay.
Have to keep going.
Our blood to fill your oceans. O blessed Boal! Our bones to build your temple in the deep.
A wave of pure devotion washes over you, and with every surge, you feel a presence grow in response.
Word, priest, promises. Your god wants proof, wants blood.
You don't recognize the creatures, but this voice seems to have a hold over them.
You, our Lord of Murder, demands sacrifice. You will be an offering for the great god Boal.
Okay, so here we're going to learn a little bit about Baal, the god of murder. There also are going to be some choices here that we're going to be able to make to try and steer this conversation in certain ways. And there are multiple ways that this can go, and there is a way to get a permanent effect from this encounter. It's not one that we're going to do, and I guess the reason for that is because of the negatives that have to go along with how you get that that buff. It's not that great a buff anyway, but it is one that, you know, can do a bunch of different things. Instead, we're going to end up with a reward out of this, and that's going to be the best that we're going to go out of this. So because we're not going to, and again, I don't want to get into too many spoilers here because you can play this encounter multiple different ways. But we're going to have a bunch of checks here, or a couple of checks at least, that we're going to have to go through here. We failed our nature check, so we don't know anything about this creature in the background here. But we are going to go through a history check here. We have advantage on this roll. We're not gaining any bonuses on it. It is going to be a high DC. We can add in guidance here to help. Okay, so that's not going to pass. I think I'm pretty low on inspirations. I've got 2, so I can try one more. And that's not going to do it. Okay, so we're going to save that last inspiration.
Well, priest, Boal wants a sacrifice. Boal wants blood.
Okay, so the only 2 options here are to make another offer or to attack. So if you go down this line...
Oh, what's that then? See, you got meat to spare. What you got for blessed Boal?
Okay, so we do have a persuasion check here that we can attempt, or you can sacrifice one of your friends. So this is a way to get the buff out of this. So we're going to go this persuasion option. It's a DC of 20, but you can see I have a lot of bonuses to my persuasion here. So 14 to 17, so I need to roll at least a 6 at the minimum to get this to work.
Sounds like a lot more blood, a lot more mess. Good. Go then, Chosen. Tell the surface wall Bulette is coming. And so you don't forget. Here, this blade is my tongue. And I want a taste of every life you take.
Okay. So, through failing our first set of checks there, we are not given an option to try and rescue the Kua Toa here, or to, I guess, give them more free will. The Redcap here, that was a Redcap who was kind of in disguise, was utilizing the Kua Toa. Now, the Kua Toa in lore are a very interesting species in that their belief, their faith powers their magic. And the more they believe, the more powerful their magic becomes. And you can take advantage of that by utilizing that magic to empower yourself, which is what the Redcap is doing. By basically fooling them into thinking that he is their god. If you pass those checks there at the start, then you can see through the disguise and you can let the Kua Toa know that the Redcap is just a Redcap and not their god. And you can play out the encounter in a way that they can think of you as their god and go that way, or you can just fail all of those checks entirely and everybody turns hostile and you kill everybody and you'll be able to pick up the sickle from his body. You can sacrifice one of your companions and get a permanent buff to go along with it. If you're going to do that, the playthroughs that I've seen have people like getting a hireling and bringing them in here to do it. Because it's a permanent sacrifice, you're not going to be able to resurrect them. So bringing a hireling in here to do it. A bunch of other ways to play this. So you can experiment with the dialogue options on your own. The thing is, there are two different sets of checks. And what I mean by that is that my bard has really high persuasion checks. So she was able to pass that 20 without a whole lot of difficulty. Or the first set of checks are normally intelligence-based and not charisma-based. So it can be hard to get a single dialogue character that's going to be able to handle both sets of checks very well. The persuasion check is always much harder. So that's why I went in with my bard to be able to do it. I just didn't get a high roll on that check at the start to see through the disguise here and open up different options to play this out. So what we got is what we got. I've told you before, I'm not going to go through and save scum these different things. What you get is the Sickle of Bulette, and this comes with Bual's blessing whenever you're wielding it. So whenever you have this equipped, you gain advantage on attack rolls against bleeding enemies, as long as there are Kua Toa to worship Bulette. And if you don't kill them down here, then they're going to be there, so Bual's blessing is going to be available for you. The permanent buff of this is just not weapon-based. So, in other words, being able to gain advantage on attack rolls against bleeding enemies no matter what, in any situation, is the other ways to go about this. Now, that's where things like the Lacerate ability come into play. And the Lacerate ability is an ability that's here on most of your melee-based swords and that sort of stuff. So if we look at the greatsword, we have the lacerate action here as well. So you can utilize lacerate to cause bleeding to a target, and then if you have the sickle equipped, you're going to gain advantage on your attacks against that bleeding target. Now, again, the sickle of Buol is just like Falar Aluv in that, just like Gandrel's Aspiration, in that if you have this equipped, say, in an offhand, or actually, I guess you can't, because it's just a finesse weapon. If you had it equipped in your offhand with a dual-wielding feat, then you would gain advantage with your primary weapon as well. You're also going to gain advantage on your ranged attacks as well, as long as you are wielding this sickle. So it can situationally give you a good bonus of advantage against certain types of creatures that you cause bleeding to. However, it is very situational, and it's not something that I tend to focus on for that particular reason. I don't want to give up either the shield or the other, or take a feat to be able to utilize it just for that situational advantage. So, not saying it's bad, it's just situational. And for what I'd have to give up, I'm not going to focus on it.
More for me?
So the Bullywug trumpet here, make sure you pick these up. We've talked about Bullywug trumpets before. And again, we'll walk over here next to the chest before we try and open it. Just to make sure it's not trapped. Okay, and now looking at our mini-map for this area, we still have... Oh, yes.
Don't touch me.
Gonna stop moving anytime soon? Thank you.
Mine.
All's well that ends.
Again, still the most annoying thing in this game to me. Okay. Okay, so the next... So Lae'zel found it. What was the check on that? The DC... Oh, I rolled a 2. Okay, so this one appears to be bugged. The chest did not appear. Interesting. It's just bugged. It didn't appear bugged in my personal playthrough. So I wonder what caused it to bug out in this one. I was checking some other things down here, and I wonder if a combination of checking and highlighting some of this stuff while it's trying to render that may have caused it. I'll have to look into it a little more. I can. I don't think I'm gonna be able to, but... Because I clearly found it. It's clearly dug it up. That is the digging up version of the render. Yeah. It just used dig again. I'd used dig previously. on the dirt mound. Something's just gone wrong with the production of the chest here. So, like I say, don't know entirely what it is. Not something I'm going to investigate on stream either. I can spend some time offline and seeing if I need to report a bug on the forums. So up here on the table, or in this area, we do have some fish we can pick up. There is a Kua Toa skirmisher up here, which is not marked as steel, where you can get another set of fish. There's a grease bottle as well. And now we can make our way back up. Checking our mini-map, we've opened everything up down here. So now we're gonna... You said there's a chest over here behind it? Oh, did I miss a secret or something back here? If I did, I've never encountered it before. Which would be a good thing to look at. Oh, maybe going around this way. So I did miss a secret. I see. I've never come around the back, and I see. It's the pathway's a little disguised in the graphic because of the color. So I never noticed there was a pathway back here. Thanks for mentioning that, Lord Henry. I appreciate it. So, interesting here. I don't want to destroy the potion of greater healing. I think I'm going to not do this here. I think I'm going to do this with Lae'zel.
Will be done. One true way.
See if I can jump somewhere in the middle here. Okay. So that did destroy the potion of greater healing. But I was able to get the benefit from it by walking into it. Okay, if I pick this up, it's going to encumber me, but I don't need to now.
What a day.
Because the torch stalks are gone. The torch stalks have a really big range of effect, it seems, and I don't know if Historian can jump over here. He can't. Let's see if I can move some items off of Lae'zel here. See if she can pick this up now. She can.
Quickly then.
How delicious.
Eager for battle.
Let's move her away from the edge a little bit.
Watch your back. Hardly a challenge.
Okay, now that I don't like. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything because in tabletop that would be perfectly normal. Okay, all right, yeah, can't complain about that, Jerval. Can't complain about it. Like I say, in tabletop that would have happened, so don't complain about it. The chest was trapped, so yeah, I don't know if picking it up didn't allow me to do a perception check at any point throughout all of that to know that it was trapped, but there was no perception check that was failed or passed anywhere in here. Or Lazelle failed a perception check here. She failed a perception check on the chest. But there was no other opportunity after she picked it up. Astarion never got another perception check. Yeah. So yeah, she failed her initial perception check when she went up to it. But then she picked it up. She picked up the chest. When she set it down here and Astarion approached it, he did not get another perception check. The perception checks on trapped chests are per person. They are not per chest. So if one person fails it, then it's failed for everybody. That's not how the traps work on chests. So I don't know if picking up and dropping the chest meant that Astarion or that anybody else is not going to get a chance to make a perception check on it. Because you will know that, or you will have seen, right when the explosion happened, the chest was actually glowing orange. So it knew it was trapped. It acted like there was a successful check that had been made at some point, and we opened it anyway. So I think this might have been a bug here. I can't see anything in the log that would indicate that we did anything wrong there. So I'll have to check that out in my personal playthrough and see. It could have been a lot worse depending upon how your characters are positioned here. They could have failed the explosion check and been knocked off into the chasm here. So, but yeah, something that that I'll have to check on my own. So the slippery chain shirt here. Okay, so whenever you heal a creature, it automatically disengages and won't trigger opportunity attacks. So it's medium armor. That could be interesting. It's not a high armor class medium armor, so it doesn't really compare to the scale mail +1. I'd be dropping my armor class to 17 here to equip it, just to get the ability to disengage whenever I heal somebody. So again, situational, but especially if you're utilizing a College of Swords bard in much more of a melee capacity, then it could be useful being able to heal somebody, including yourself, and then automatically being able to disengage and move away without triggering any opportunity attacks. Could be useful. It's probably not something that I'm going to be focused on here in my playthrough, though. But either way, thanks for pointing that out, Lord Henry. I didn't realize because of the coloring here, it had escaped my notice previously that there was another area back here that could be explored. And there actually is a pile of bones here. I doubt there's anything here. But just for completionist sake,
An efficient path.
we'll go over here and search it. Just a dagger.
All right. What now?
So, thanks again. Again, another illustration of why I love my chat. Maybe, Peter. Like I say, I don't know what really caused that to happen, but it was certainly out of the ordinary, and it is something that I'm going to explore off-stream a little bit and see kind of how that thing can play out differently. So we're going to head back up. And we're going to break our group again.
Assume nothing.
This is one of the things that gets commented a lot on my streams is, why are you wasting so much time jumping everybody around and that sort of stuff when they would just follow you? And like I say, it's just because I've got too much experience with this game doing stupid things with the pathing. So probably, you know, 9 times out of 10, jumping everybody across here, the game would figure it out on its own and do what it needed to do. That one time, I just don't want to have to happen on stream and then just waste more time. So,
Should mind my step.
yeah, exactly. Turns into a jumping simulator.
Has been digging here.
Okay, so here we get into this area and we have a dead drow over here.
Half this drow's body is crushed. Must have fallen from pretty high up.
Okay, so we can go over here and we can search the drow. Scroll of dark vision, gold, and a hidebound journal, which we can read here. So this is again a book here that talks about some lore here in the game, but also well, there's again too much to go through here, but it is about the drow and their society in general and how that plays into Menzo Brandon and Sorcerer, which is again drow lore to go into here. But I would
That'll fit in my pack.
implore you to... Did that encumber me? It did. Okay, so the investigation failed there. It was successful there. But I would implore you to go through, if you don't have a whole lot of experience with the history behind what's happening in D&D with the various races, that you take an opportunity to explore some of these things as you go. So, one of the things that I want to do here with Astarion is cast guidance,
Never mind.
and I'm going to jump up here. And now I'm going to jump over to here, and I'm going to get another check. Okay, so my investigation was successful, so that one disappears. Okay, so it looks like it's a little bit too high from here because of my strength. So I'm going to cast guidance on Lae'zel. Lae'zel's not going to be great at investigation checks. Okay, so she was successful on both of those. And now she's made it up here to the top. So if you remember from our Paladin playthrough, we actually came in through here. And I want to move up here toward this. Okay, so she failed her investigation check here.
One true way.
But I can click on the mushroom circle and make my way back down. Okay, and now everyone else
Long road ahead.
can join me up top. If you remember from our
Well, hello.
Paladin playthrough,
Looking ahead.
okay, so failed that investigation check.
Trust no one.
It's going to take a really good roll. It's a DC of 20.
Good.
The pride of the gate.
Okay, so everybody failed it. All that does is allow you to pass through this door here. And remember, we came in from that way. This is what leads you back to... This is what leads you back to the tea house. Okay, so this is, if you come into the Underdark, this is another way into the Underdark from the overworld. You can do it through the treehouse like we did in our Paladin playthrough. And that allows you to come up here, find the mushroom circle, and travel straight down to the bottom here without having to do the jumping around and passing of the investigation checks. The investigation checks let you know which platforms are fake platforms. The platforms look real. If you fail your investigation check, you can jump to them, but you will pass right through it and fall. And that's what happened to the drow here. So make your way up safely. You have to pass the investigation checks to get here, or you need to come in from the tea house here and trigger the mushroom circle to get down to the bottom.
What have we here?
All right. So fairly straightforward. You just have to be successful with your investigation
Trusted my feet
checks.
can carry me.
So now we've already explored one of the ways to go, and that was to follow the chasm down here to the Buwal encounter. We have another way that we can go here. You are able to jump across this little chasm here, and this will take you down toward the village at the shore. We're going to save this until last. Inside the Underdark, there are so many more things to do before we trigger that. And then the third way to go is up here. Okay, now when you get to a certain point here, you want to make sure that you are hidden. And the reason for that is that this is the Arcane Tower. The Arcane Tower here operates a little differently here and now than it did in early access. But for the most part, you can see we got a hide check there. Okay.
Better watch out.
And you have a perception check to realize that there's scorched ground here. And that is what opens up your ability to see the arcane turrets that are out here. Okay. So there are a couple of different ways to approach the arcane tower here. You want to avoid attacks from the arcane turrets, and they attack anybody who is in their detection cones. So right here I'm stopped short of the detection cone, but you can move all the way up to here. And see, it will put you into turn-based mode, and the arcane turret will track you. Okay, now where I'm at right now, the arcane turret's not going to be able to
Let's not get caught
hit
off
me
guard.
because I'm back behind a wall here. So the environmental turn will run out. You can exit out of turn-based mode again and be right back where you are. But that's what happens when the turret sees you, is it will enter you into turn-based mode, and you need to make your way out of the detection cone for it to reset itself. Now, there are 2 arcane turrets here. There's another one up here, and you can manipulate how this works by knowing that the arcane turret is going to face toward you to try and make an attack. And what I mean by that will illustrate
Ready for
with Lae'zel here.
steady hand is needed.
We're going to utilize Lae'zel for this. She does not need to be in hiding for this, because she has a really good jump ability here. Okay, so we're going to jump Lae'zel over here and then immediately start running to get behind this pillar here. And the arcane turret is going to track us while we do it. And see, once we're here, you can see the arcane turret is now facing more toward us in this direction. And we can again take more advantage of that by seeing where the detection cones are. And now you can see that the second arcane turret is kind of overlapping here a little bit. And you can see there the second arcane turret tried to target us. Okay, so what we can do is try and make our way back here. And again, the arcane turret is going, this arcane turret is going to track towards us and try and attack us. See, just like that. And now with Astarion, you can see that the detection cones have shifted here. So now Astarion can move much farther into this area. And the only detection cone that he has to worry about is this little bit of overlap from the arcane turret up here. So now all he has to do is pass one stealth check to get across here. And if he doesn't, I'm going to want to go into turn-based mode immediately as soon as I do that. So be prepared here to go into turn-based mode when you try and cross one of these detection cones. Astarion has the much better chance to be able to do this with his stealth skills, and that was a mistake. I went through all the bother of explaining that, and then I did that and just messed it all up.
Magus will be done.
So dumb.
Watch your back.
So dumb. Oh, that was just me being incredibly stupid. So... So he failed his hide check there. So I'm immediately going to go into turn-based mode. Going to dash, and I'm going to get out of the detection cone over to here again. And go into hiding here. Now when you exit turn-based mode, you can see that the turret stayed where I was previously facing. So now as long as I do not get out of, if I stay in hiding, the turrets aren't going to move. Okay. So there is something that I want to do before I move Astarion too far, though. That's I want to put an Elixir of Hill Giant Strength on Astarion. Not worried about the survival check. There's a dirt mound here. Okay, so now the question is... if I drink that, is it going to take me out of hiding or not? That's an interesting question. Okay, so we're going to drink the Elixir of Hill Giant Strength. Okay, good, it didn't. So now I'm going to jump up here and I'm going to immediately move my way down here. And move down here. The reason that I took the Elixir of Hill Giant Strength is because Astarion does not have the strength to make that first jump without some sort of bonus to his jumping ability. So you can either, you know, Misty Step him up there if you utilize the Amulet of Misty Step or something like that. I've got this potion available to me, so I'm just going to go ahead and utilize it. So once you're down here, you don't have to be in hiding anymore. We've talked about this pipe, or this hole before. If you are able to shape-shift yourself, or you have Druid and able to wild shape into something small, you can bypass this back door and get into the inside of the Arcane Tower from here.
Subtle steps. A little souvenir.
The Bullywug Trumpet down here. There's some more Laccolite. Okay, and we're just doing a little bit of exploring with Astarion here. Okay, we can move around to the back here, and now you see we have Susser Blooms.
I wonder.
Now the Susser Blooms are glowing and emanating some sort of force, and you can see they have an AoE around them. If you walk into that AoE, I get the Susser Flower anti-magic field.
What do those flowers do to me?
Okay, so what that does is you can see that he's no longer able to cast his cantrip because casting spells is blocked, and that's what the Susser Blooms do. They're basically a much improved version of Silence that doesn't allow you to cast spells while you're in them. And again, not worried about the survival check. I'll come back and deal with all those. But you want to pick up a Susser Bloom while you're out here. And the reason that I wanted to take a Starian down here is because of the door here. Now, the door is sturdy, which means that you don't necessarily have to lockpick it. If you can cause more than 10 damage to it in a single hit, then you're going to be able to damage the door as well, and just knock the door down. I don't want to tend to focus on that. I've got a Starian here with me, so I'm not too worried about being able to lockpick this. Okay, so yeah, I had a 1 and a 4 on that stupid perception check previously, and now I roll a 19 and 20 when I'm just trying to lockpick a door. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to skip all of this for now and just move over here. Now, there are, if you move here and go up to,
All right.
and I'll just explain this just to tell you a little bit about this. This lets you know more about the Susser tree flowers and what they can do. So it talks about them being able to be used for magic items, and also the ability to be used for magical energy. And the fact that you have withered blue petals here on the ground kind of lets you know what you need to do with this power generator here. So here you need to take a Susser Bloom, put it in here, and combine. And you get a cool little cutscene that shows magical energy from the Susser Bloom now coursing through the entire building. Okay? And what that really does, we move back out here, we can group our party back up, and you saw during that cutscene that the arcane turrets or arcane cannons, they disabled themselves. Okay, so now you're free to move around this area
Out of sight.
all you want
Out of mind.
without
The gods are
fear
watching me.
from the arcane turrets. And that's very important, not just for being able to move around out here, but for what you're going to encounter later on inside of the arcane tower. Okay, so there is some exploration that we can do out here, and then we're going to go meet up with Astarion.
Where am I needed?
But here we do want to have Will...
Can't give up now.
Cast guidance, and then we're gonna move up here.
Something over
Okay, there's the dirt mound, and we'll see if these are all bugged. Okay, she's not making the digging animation, but the chest does show up, so... Scroll of Vampiric Touch, that's actually really, really good. Okay, and then up here you have some various items that you can pick up. There is a letter here that you can read, and this is a letter to Eerie from somebody else talking about the tower, and Eerie is their lost love, so to speak. And there's nothing but Bernard to fill these halls. You need to... This is kind of a clue here that there's more lore and history going on with the Arcane Tower. And kind of a clue that you want to be reading, picking these up and reading these letters and books as you go through this. Okay? So you, from now on, want to be reading as many of these books and letters that you come across as you can find. And I'm going to bring Astarion out front. To do that, the whole tower is powered up now. So I'm going to take Astarion up here into this elevator here. And there's an ascend button. Okay, that takes us into this room here. And I'm going to ascend again. And now this takes us to the main entrance. And again, there are more arcane turrets around here on different floors. So deactivating them is very, very helpful, because as soon as you come up that elevator and move out where you can be seen, you can get attacked by them. So that's why in almost all of my playthroughs, I go down into the bottom area first and deactivate all of the arcane cannons. Eric said, you can certainly fight the arcane cannons. They don't have a lot of hit points. So, especially in turn-based mode, you are able to take care of them fairly easily. It can just get quite a bit annoying if you're trying to deal with them when you don't expect them either. So, that's why I always tend to do it the way I do it. Is that 2 nat 20s in a row? That's ominous. Okay, so here you get Skybreaker. So Skybreaker is a light hammer, so it is 1d4 damage. However, it comes with Searing Smite. Now, Searing Smite is an ability that you get from a couple of different avenues. First, depending upon your paladin selection choices, but then also from being a tiefling. As you level up any class with a tiefling, you end up getting Searing Smite as a racial bonus. So Searing Smite allows you to do an additional 1d6 fire damage on the Searing Smite attack, and it sets your target on fire, which then does an additional 1d6 fire damage every turn for 10 turns. So, or until they put it out. So it can be extraordinarily useful, and takes a normally 1d4 damage weapon much higher in its damage potential. And that's what's kind of unique about Skybreaker. It is also a light weapon, so you can dual wield it with another light weapon. So having this and dual wielding it with, you know, the sickle, the sickle of Bual or something like that, this allows you to do that. And then, however, you're not going to have the benefits of bleeding, but if people can inflict bleeding then on that target, then you dual wielding this light weapon with another light weapon can allow you to have advantage against those type of targets. So Skybreaker, being a light hammer and a light weapon, can be very useful, especially in an offhand situation where you're able to use Searing Smite to amplify your attacks. So again, can be very useful as a weapon in and of itself. We're probably not going to utilize it during our playthrough, but we'll take a look as we go along here and see what we want to do with it. So let's go explore this outside area a little bit more and make sure we've picked up everything, and then we're going to head into the Arcane Tower. And I do want to check this because I've always seen this. Okay, so yes, you can. You can make your way in here even if you don't have a way to open the door. If you don't have the ability to lockpick it from the outside, you don't need to worry about that because you can jump through the open window here. As part of the turret being in a state of disrepair, that window has been left open. So the door, if you're not coming in through the basement and activating everything, and you want to come in here and kind of take out the arcane turrets and all that sort of stuff, you can get in here without having the ability to lockpick the door.
No traps, please.
Okay, so broken machine. Aha! Okay, so the broken machinery now has an alchemical use for an elixir of lightning resistance. So that was something that was missing in early access. There was no use for the broken machinery. There was a lot of speculation as to what it was going to be utilized for. I don't think Astarion needs any more trap disarm kits. Another potion of animal speaking, very useful. And yeah, Eric, the dig mechanic and the unearthing of the chests is a little bit iffy, in my opinion, at this stage. I understand the mechanic and where they got it from. It's obviously a Fallout thing, but it's just not functioning all that great here sometimes in the game. So we're going to break our group here, and again with
Someone there?
Astarion,
So that's progress.
cast guidance here. Okay, so we did get a couple of our Arcana checks that succeeded for the Chest of the Mundane. If you click on it, you can see we have very mundane articles in here. Some bowls, spatulas, that sort of stuff. We'll take this bowl.
Wait, did that just transform?
And now you can see that it's a hearth-like bomb. So the chest itself has a magical property that whatever you put in it is disguised. Right? So we're going to now go into our inventory and we can look and see we picked up a couple of scrolls. And we picked up Mistress Grace. Mistress Grace is a great set of boots to have that you don't necessarily wear all of the time. Being able to cast Featherfall on your group is incredibly useful while you're navigating certain areas of the game. Like you've seen, the verticality in this game is incredible. So being able to prep yourselves before you go into certain areas by casting Featherfall on your group and then getting into combat situations immediately afterward that have a lot of verticality in them, such as the Githyanki Patrol. Getting knocked off the top of the bridge can hurt you quite a bit unless you've got Featherfall on. Moving around various areas that, for instance, the platforming area that we just went through outside of here that has the disappearing platforms, Featherfall can again be very, very useful. So the boots are incredibly useful to have. It's just not something that you're probably going to be wearing all of the time. It's something that you're going to keep in your inventory to utilize. Most of the boots that we have are useful in certain things. Now the spider step boots, being immune to being enwebbed, are less useful at this point until you get into combat where you know you're going to be dealing with webs. So having the boots of Mistress Grace on Will probably isn't a bad way to go, but you're going to quickly find out that these types of party helping spells are better utilized by swapping into them, casting them, and then swapping out of them when you need them. But with so much verticality in the game, it's an incredibly useful set of boots to have. Now the Chest of the Mundane has some other properties that go along with it. And that is our, I guess, our ability to put things into this chest. The chest has the ability to take something, for instance, let's just find something that's here. A wooden shield is 2.7 pounds in weight. If I put that into the chest, it transforms it into a goblet that has 0.05 in weight. So now the items that are in there can be, and again, I'm not picking up you have the weight of the chest to consider here by itself. The chest weighs 22.7, but the items that you put in it, which up that amount of weight, are substantially less now. So you could take the Chest of the Mundane and you could add in a bunch of armors and all of that sort of stuff that may weigh 100 pounds by themselves. They get transformed into something else that at the end of the day, if you put 100 pounds worth of stuff in it, the weight of the chest plus those items in it may only be 30 pounds. or something like that. So the Chest of the Mundane can help you in a carry weight situation by allowing you to store heavy items in it that will transform them into something else. So it's something to consider carrying around, and we can kind of, don't know if we'll be able to illustrate it completely here, but for instance, I'm at 140 here. Okay, and you want to do this with items that are heavy in and of themselves. Okay, so now I was at 140. My carry weight is 58.9 now. If I examine the chest, oh, this doesn't work like it used to. Yeah, this does not work like it used to. Because now I can't pick it up. It seems to keep the weight of the items that are not transformed. So this works differently than it used to in early access. Yeah, I think they've changed this since early access. Because it used to transform it and the carry weight reflected the weight of the items that it transformed into, but that's no longer the case. So I think they must have changed it in the full version. So interesting. I wonder if it works only up to a certain point. So let's try. So that was from 148 to, so I put about 30 pounds worth of stuff in there. Yeah, so it seems to maybe only work up to a certain point because the weight of the chest empty is 20 pounds. So, and I really shouldn't be exploring this on stream. I'm just wasting a bunch of time exploring here. But it's interesting to see how this works. So, 12 pounds, 13 pounds, 14 pounds. So 22.1 pounds is what I put in there. These weigh almost nothing. They weigh less than half a pound. It was originally 20. £20, and it's 42.1. So yeah, the item weight here is no longer the weight of the transformed items. So this is now different. This has the full weight of the items that I put in it, regardless of what they've been transformed into. So the Chest of the Mundane is no longer nearly as useful as it used to be.
Looking ahead.
In its carrying capacity. So
Moving in.
that's interesting. I guess it's not at all unexpected, I guess. But it was interesting, like you say, to have kind of a little bag of holding type of thing that weighed 20 pounds, and you could end up putting a lot of carry weight in it and carry it around, but it seems like they fixed that at some point. So here we'll move on, and there's a dusty book, and this is what I mentioned earlier about when you're exploring this area, you want to start reading and paying attention to these books and manuscripts that you find laying around. Okay, so this is the beginning of a play, and it has a stanza down here. So there is light in every living thing. It's crawling towards the surface to survive, and in its wake it tramples everything. We'll kill the rest so that the one can thrive. These...
Seems like the owner was quite the literary type.
These books are going to lead you into other sets of options as you go through the last encounter in the tower. But you will not be able to have those options during that encounter unless you read the books. So we're going to go down first. Okay, and in here we have a threadbare book that we can read. And again, part of it is a play. How can I trust? How will I ever know? How can I show myself my darkest me? Then making our way around.
Better not be cursed.
We have a door here.
Something good here, I hope.
Nothing. Now, holding Alt, you see that we have 2 tongues of madness here. Okay, and
Wish I had a bag of holding.
that opened up a new sublimate recipe, the Tongue of Madness here. But it's important that you pick those up for reasons which can't be explained right at this minute. Okay, nothing out here. There's a vase, I guess, we can search. And then here, we have some Timask spores. And again, very useful that you pick these up. Again, for reasons which are not explained. Okay, so just a little more searching around here. Some clothing that we can take. Okay, and now we've finished this floor here. Actually, there is one more barrel over here. I think I forgot this one. Now we're going to descend again back to the bottom where Astarion entered. Okay, another potion of speed. Very, very useful. A few more crafting ingredients. And again, the nightlight fronds can be very useful. gilded chest here with uncovered mysteries. Now, uncovered mysteries is another one of those when you get into an encounter or a conversation, a dialogue option, having uncovered mysteries available to you is very, very useful. Having the detect thoughts spell is incredibly useful when it comes into your conversations, and being able to give you advantage on your conversation choices, or uncover other conversation choices that that you might not know about until you get, that opened up. So having this is kind of one of those things that you probably aren't going to be utilizing much on its own when you're just sitting around, but before you go into a conversation with an NPC, it's something very useful to have on while you're doing that. Similar to a lot of items that we have in our inventory, and we are going to, have no fear, go clear out our inventory at some point, but a lot of items that are not necessarily your combat items as much as they are your NPC interaction items that you have in your bag to be able to utilize when you need to. So a very cool amulet to have. We're now going to make our way down here into this bottom area, and we can do some searching down here. Yeah, Peter, they could have done something else with the elevator animation. Okay, Magic of the Weave and Introduction is just a standard book. It's not one of the special books. Okay, so this is again a standard book. The letter's a standard letter. The Scroll of Charmed Person is again very useful for NPC encounters. However, it does have a downside that goes along with it. Okay, so let's get rid of some of our items here. More crafting supplies. Holding Alt as we go here, we have some more crafting supplies on this table. Okay, and now we're going to have Astarian cast guidance here.
No time to rest?
No. Really don't like how the doors are working. Going to break the group. Okay, so failed the survival check there. To roll an 8.
Need to find a way forward.
What now?
Defender of the people. And I'm off.
Okay. So Will found the dirt mound here. And we're going to have him take the scroll of bestow curse, and then we're going to come back,
Wish to live in more
pick
interesting
up the rest of the
times.
crafting ingredients. Okay, so acorn truffles, again, for potions of animal speaking, very useful. Okay, so now I'm going to head back in here, and we're going to make our way up the elevator.
Let's see what this does.
Okay, so this is the main floor where we entered here, so now we can ascend again. The higher we go, the more things are more damaged and destroyed. So make our way around this side, and now we get some additional books that are showing up here. So we have a torn out paper here. So the silence stretches on. I'm all alone. Please can I hold your hands for just a while? Okay. So
Ignorance breeds madness.
okay. So this is interesting. I actually didn't see this in my personal playthrough.
The markings reveal the location of a Githyanki crash.
Okay. So you can pick this up. So I'm definitely going to do that. But it's a way to decipher Githyanki writing. I don't think I need it right now.
Have a lot on my mind. And, well, in it.
Interesting. I missed that in my personal playthrough. I did not see it there on the table. So I will have to see what use it is. So To the Gray is here. And I don't think this is one of the special ones. Okay, these are all the same books, so... Ah, there's an engraved Githyanki disc here.
The disc appears in your mind's eye. Lae'zel sees it too, and considers the vision.
Tissue markings. Ancient. I recognize them, but I can't make sense. No. Wait. The texts are enciphered, but I've solved the pattern. It's a story. About Orpheus.
Your head buzzes in concert with Lae'zel's, but it hardly matters. Even without the connection, you'd recognize her discomfort.
Okay, so this entire counter I missed out on because there wasn't a way for me to decipher this in my personal playthrough. So I'm anxious to see what's happening here.
Githyanki writing. Every word a wheel, every letter a spoke. The most powerful texts are engraved in slate. Some so ancient, only the most erudite Gish can read them. A traitor. A dead one. This text is heresy. I can hardly bear to read it, let alone speak it. Very well. I will read it to you. The Prince of the Comet, Part 1. So it was that we were free from Geich shackles and turned our blades on each other. The heavens were shattered, and one great empire was divided in two. Gith traveled to the Hells to broker help for her people, her cause. Vlaakith would have you believe Mother Gith proclaimed her our queen. Lies. Gith made no such proclamation. Vlaakith seized the Empire against the Mother's wishes. But Gith had nurtured a son, Orpheus, Prince of the Comet, the true heir. He knew Vlaakith's treachery. Orpheus rallied Gith's honor guard and declared the throne for himself. The War of the Comet had begun. Disregard this drivel. Gith declared Vlaakith Queen of the Empire, and her own son defied her. Orpheus would have ceded control to the Geich. She did nothing of the sort. Thank your good fortunes I'm a tolerant woman, or I'd have sliced off a few toes for suggesting it.
Okay, so that's very, very interesting. I'm sorry I missed that in my personal playthrough. Because it does open up the introduction to Prince Orpheus here. And this is going to become much more important as we go through this, and this is actually another reason that I'm glad I came this way first, as opposed to the mountain pass. So yeah, basically saying that there's a lost Prince Orpheus, and Orpheus is the true heir, and Vlaakith is not the queen of the Githyanki. Now, Lae'zel obviously has problems with that. Lae'zel is devoted to Vlaakith throughout her entire character development so far. We've seen how she wants to become the...
Are these Githyanki markings? Lae'zel might know.
The disciple of Vlaakith and earn her silver sword from her and that sort of stuff. So it's very interesting to see this start now. And in my personal playthrough, I did not get to see this, so it's interesting to go through this now. Like I say, no spoilers here, and I'm not going to go through it. But there's a lot that's going to develop with that quest line as we go. So here, another book about a play. So reading through this, it's been so long, what do I know of you and of me? So just portions of a play here. It's the handwritten letter where we learn more here. And this is about Amarith and Lenore. So Lenore has tamed a Bulette, and the Bulette, she's telling her that the Bulette is not a pet. and wants her to come back. So, P.S. It really warms my heart to hear that you put the autumn crocus flowers on Myrna's grave. I remember she liked to roll around them even though she'd always sneeze after. She was such a soft, loyal dog. I wish there was more I could do. There's more to this as you explore the rest of the Underdark. And you're going to see a little bit more of that as we continue on exploring the tower here. Okay, some good scrolls here. We do have a painting that we can take. And then you get the Mage's Friend. So the Mage's Friend is a ring that gives you +1 to Arcana and +1 to Religion checks. These are obviously skill checks. Giving you a straight +1 to any of those can be useful for anybody. So your skill checks here for Religion and Arcana are intelligence based. So giving that +1 to somebody who already has high numbers can help increase their ability to pass those checks even more. Or using those to offset negative numbers can also be useful, because for us intelligence was a dump stat. So for now, I think because I do have an open ring slot on either one of them, it's just something to help me pass those checks as I'm walking around, you know, exploring things. Okay, and you did see that there's something here in this corner, and there's a button. Okay, if you press the button...
Strange place for a button. Especially one that doesn't work.
Doesn't do anything right now. There is a way to get that button to do something, and we'll explore that as we go out and explore more of the Underdark. Okay, so this is where we came up here. So now we can ascend again, and before I do that, my action economy is getting pretty low, and I'm out of short rests.
At least things have stayed interesting.
I could use my Song of Rest here, I guess. Okay, so Will's got his spells back. I still have a level 2 and 2 level 3s. I think we'll be okay.
Reaction. Without delay.
It does work, Eric. We just came here kind of out of the normal way that the game expects you to go. You need an item. You can only find that item by exploring throughout a certain section of the Underdark, which we just aren't doing right now. So, but it does work. Well, yeah, because I'm almost positive I did it my personal playthrough as well. So we'll ascend up again.
New sounds to dampen dark oppression. Is it the foe? That foul, contemptuous heel?
Okay. So the choices that you get in this dialogue are dependent upon the books that you have read throughout your exploration of the rest of the tower. Okay, so this option here.
Come out of love for me, not love for blood and steel. Command as you see fit, my lord, my liege.
Okay, so Bernard is an automaton. Bernard has been programmed with certain responses to certain inquiries, and that's it. He can't answer questions. He doesn't know how to react to other things. The only way that you can get him to do certain things is by knowing these command lines that, again, you learned from reading the books. And reading those books gave you certain insights as to what each one of those command lines is going to do. Okay? So for now, you can illustrate this. If you just ask him a regular question.
Unbeknownst command that I cannot fulfill.
Bernard doesn't know how to respond to that.
Unbeknownst command that I cannot fulfill.
Okay, so if you didn't read any of the books, that's all you would have. You would not see any of these. I'm going to, for now, leave.
No one back home will ever believe this.
And I'm going to do some exploration around this upper level here. Okay, so there is some broken machinery here that we can pick up. And again, we know those are crafting items. Then there's a patched parchment. Okay, and this is again a poem, which is going to be a command for Bernard. So these empty sheets are all that's left of you, the last of all the thoughtless gifts you gave. Okay, I will hold on to them. I can't throw them away. So this kind of lets you know that there's possibly some sort of gift or something that goes along with Bernard.
Command as you see fit, my lord, my liege.
And now you can see that there are 4 options here, not just 3, and this corresponds to the one that we just read.
There's all that I can do. I can't throw them away. I've never been that brave.
Okay, so you get a potion of greater healing out of that. But you wouldn't be able to get that potion of greater healing if you hadn't read that manuscript there.
What path lies
And that's
before me?
kind of what's important about learning the mechanics behind Bernard here.
Careful, I'm behind. Mind.
I've got a long road ahead.
Okay, so we have a stool here that's labeled rather strange. The Stool of Hill Giant Strength. If you pick it up and move it, you can set it upright, and then when you interact with it,
What's this feeling of power?
you gain an effect, Hill Giant's Might. So your strength is now increased to 21 while you're sitting here on this stool. That doesn't do a whole lot for you because as soon as you get up, Hill Giant's Might goes away.
Where did that come from?
However, what you can do is attack the stool, and there's a club of Hill Giant Strength left afterward. And the club of Hill Giant Strength gives you the Splinters of a Giant's Might ability, and that increases your strength to 19. So this is a light club, which means you can wield it in your offhand. Okay, so that can be very useful for utilizing weapons, for instance, that are not finesse or Astarian. for instance, if I wanted to have the Skybreaker on Astarion, okay, this is not a finesse weapon, so it's not utilizing his dexterity for his 2-hit rolls. Okay, however, increasing my, or adding this in my offhand is going to increase his strength and allow him to do more damage or to hit easier with Skybreaker, because now his strength is at 21. So this is where this club can be very, very useful. It can also be very useful simply for the fact of getting Astarion into those places where he might not otherwise be able to reach very easily because of his low strength. So with his low, oh, he's getting not 21. It's 21 because he's still got that potion of Hill Giant strength on. It would be 19. But because of his low strength normally, upping it to 19 would give him a +4 to his 2 hit and his 2 damage on Skybreaker. Whereas normally, right now, I think with Skybreaker, for him it's +6. Because, yeah, it's +6 because it's +5 from his strength bonus and +1 from Happy. It would normally be, I think, a -1 because his strength is, I can't remember if his strength is 9 or if it's 10. It's either going to be a +0 or a -1 on his 2 hit and damage, but upping that to 19 would allow him to use a strength-based weapon a lot more. So, but for the most part, how I tend to utilize it is to give Astarion the ability to move into those places he can't normally get, to pick a lock or to pick up a chest or something like that, by just equipping it in his offhand. For the most part, the other 2 characters that I have, I want them to continue using their shields for their higher armor class, so I don't want to sacrifice that with the Club of Hill Giant Strength just to give her a better chance to hit with Falar Alluve, or I mean not with Falar Alluve, but with a strength-based weapon or something like that. So, but it is very, very useful, something to keep around on your character to utilize when you're not necessarily in combat. So now, exploring the rest of this. So yeah, he's got a strength 8, so he's a -1 to hit and to damage with something like Skybreaker with a non-finesse weapon. This would give him a +4. So it'd be a 5-point swing in the 2 hit and damage that he can do. So very, very useful to keep around for him. So now we get to this encounter in general, and you can see that we have animated armors. There are 4 of them. They have a decent amount of hit points. There are 33 hit points, so they're no slouches. And they all have crossbows on their back, and they're all heavy crossbows. So Bernard here has 70 hit points, and he's no slouch either. But Bernard is carrying an item that is going to be very useful for us later on in our playthrough. And that is the weapon that Bernard has got on his back here. The only way to claim that weapon is by killing Bernard. So if we take Astarion here, I'm not entirely sure. Yes, he can hide here.
Let's prowl.
Okay, and you try and pickpocket Bernard.
Mile plus, isn't it?
Okay, you can't pickpocket him. Alright, so the only way to get this weapon is to find a way to deal with Bernard. Fortunately, that is not that difficult. It just takes a little bit of preparation and a lucky roll. Okay, I will say that. So we're going to put Astarion
Still
up
breathing,
here.
despite everything.
We're going to take Will.
One move
We're going
ahead.
to move him up top over here. And we're going to put him into hiding as well.
They won't see me coming.
But Bernard's a bro. That is true. He's a cool guy, but we have another use.
Get going.
And unfortunately Bernard is standing in our way.
The easy path.
And for my bard, I'm going to first. So actually I want to examine Bernard here while we're here. So if you haven't started doing this much in your playthroughs, you need to start thinking about it. In Act 1, you can normally get away with it. You can normally just get away with walking up to whatever you want, hacking away at it, and it's going to die. In Act 2 and Act 3, it becomes a lot more important for you to realize what resistances or vulnerabilities enemies have. And to do that, you can examine them either while you're in combat or while you're out of combat. It doesn't matter. So here you can see that Bernard is resistant to slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage. So all of the normal melee type damage types, he's going to take half damage from those for magical and non-magical attacks. He's also resistant to fire, lightning, psychic, and poison. So in this case, he's not going to take any additional damage, or he's only going to take half additional damage from the psychic damage on Lae'zel's longsword, or if she was still using the Everburn blade, only take half damage from the fire on it. So being able to tailor your attacks to work around those resistances is going to become a lot more important as you start going along here. Okay, so the other things you can see here is that he's got a static discharge multi-attack. So when he's got a static discharge aura on, he can do a multi-attack. And a multi-attack is kind of the same as an extra attack, but it's done using one action. So in this case, he's going to make 2 swipes with his weapon. Each one of those swipes is going to do 1d10 plus 5 slashing plus 1d6 lightning. Okay, only when he's under the effect of his static discharge aura though. And then he's also got overcharge. So this is a passive feature, which is, it's a chance to stun the wielder unless the wielder is a construct. So this is something that you're going to see come into play a little bit later on. But for now, what we want to do is give Lae'zel
Never a dull moment.
a combat inspiration. Okay, we're now going to move my bard back here, up against the wall, put her into hiding.
Blackets will be done.
I'm going to take Lae'zel, and I'm going to move Lae'zel right in front of Bernard. Now, Lae'zel has a pushing attack that we selected as one of her combat maneuvers when we were leveling her up. So, what that means is that she can utilize this attack to try and maneuver, so to speak, Bernard in certain ways. Now, pushing him back isn't going to push him very far, and the pushing attack melee does not do what it used to anymore, in that it used to knock him completely out the window onto the bottom floor here. He would take a lot of damage when that happened, and he would have to walk a long way to get back into this room. Okay? It doesn't do that anymore. They've realized that that it was probably a bit overpowered to be able to do it, so they've changed it a little bit, so now it only moves him about halfway. However, in my personal playthrough, if you're able to get 2 pushing attacks in sequence to work, you are still able to shove him out that window. Now, you have to get those 2 pushing attacks to be successful, and you have to get both pushing attacks to occur before he moves. Because if he gets a turn, he can move out of the way of being up against this window here, and he'll move somewhere else out of the way, and you won't necessarily be able to knock him out the window. So the play here can be very iffy. And if you're save scumming, it can be a lot easier, because you can save it right now, you can make your attack and push him back up against the windowsill, and then if you roll well on initiative, you have a turn before him, before he goes, and then you can move up next to him and try and get that attack to land again and knock him out the window. The chances of that happening for me are really, really low here. I'll just let you know that right now. So the pushing attack, like I say, it's got a strength save that goes along with it. And Bernard's strength is +4. So he's very likely to make the saving throw that goes along with this. So the chances of it working are very low. But even if it doesn't, I'm going to do this combat this way anyway. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to start this off with Lae'zel and see how it goes, and we'll be ready to enter turn-based mode if she rolls horribly. If she rolls horribly, then we will change to our other characters and initiate an attack here on Will to get other people into the combat. Okay, so I needed a 19 to hit. I rolled a 16 here. So Valiant Attack, this is going to be a 50-50 chance on whether it's doing it. And yes, Will's in the pushing doesn't push him back that far either. So it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, whether you do it with him or Lae'zel. I would prefer to do it with Lae'zel just because she has higher hit points, and if she's going to absorb attacks, then it's better to do it with her than with him. So with a Valiant Attack here, this is about a 60% chance that this is going to hit now if I use it. Okay. So here, and I rolled above him, So here, and now you can see there's a chance to knock him out the window. Right? It's not a great chance, but it is a chance. However,
Does this count as adventuring? Don't waste a step.
this is going to be dangerous if I do this. This is going to put me into combat, and I'm going to be close to this ledge. And this animated armor could possibly take the opportunity to try and shove me off of this ledge. So this is a dangerous maneuver to do, but it would give her a better chance of hitting with this. Okay, so actually I did roll well with my initiative. That's good. So now here, the pushing attack again. Okay, I rolled a 14, so my valiant attack's gonna have to... And there he goes. So I actually made that work. I got some really good rolls there, and you can see he took 34 bludgeoning damage from falling. He's resistant to bludgeoning damage. So if he would have not had resistance, that would have killed him outright. But now he's down here on the bottom. He's prone, which means he needs to spend half of his movement to stand up on his next turn. And then he's got to enter into this main area and walk to the elevator to start making his way back up here. And during that time, we have the ability to go after the other armors that are out here.
On the move.
Okay, so here we're going to... It doesn't matter what we do with these attacks now. Let's just start trying to cause some damage. Okay, we don't necessarily need to worry. I want to... Actually, I'll leave her there, I think. I will save my action surge. Yeah, I think I'm going to save my action surge here. So now here I can move, I have the freedom to be able to move my bard. But first, let's go and see what options we have with Will. So he's able to move down here if he would like. But nobody is close enough to an edge yet to be able to shove them off. So let's start with Astarion first. Okay. That puts him into combat. We're going to move him up here. We're going to do an offhand attack. Okay, and now I can do another one. The chances of shoving him off are 75%. Okay, so that didn't kill him, but it did move him off the high ground here. So Astarion's turn is done. Lae'zel, I'm going to save her action surge.
Keeping quiet.
And now Will is going to have an opportunity here. Take this one out and cause some damage here. Okay. And he rolled well, so I'm going to move him back up out of the way. And yes, I think I'm gonna end this for now with him. I'm gonna save her. Well, I don't really need to, because by the time Bernard gets up here, boy, she's just missing. Okay, because by the time Bernard gets back up here, I don't think we're going to have to worry about him all that much. So, for here, how much does he have left? 7. Okay, so that was unfortunate. I rolled really, really low on that. And then I'm just going to move myself so I'm not near the edge here and can't be pushed off while we weather the attacks from the armors here. Okay, so somewhat expected. If they went after Astarion, they were going to be on low ground, so they were going to have penalties to hit. If they went after my Bard, she's got a 19 armor class, so there are going to be penalties to hit there. And going after Lae'zel from here, they're going to have disadvantage on those ranged attacks because they're too close. So this worked out really, really well. And now we have all of our turn left again. And now Will, let's see where he can get to.
Finding my way.
So now these two, if I hit, path is interrupted there. Path is not interrupted here. If I hit, I don't know if it's going to knock him off or if it's going to knock him over to here. I guess we'll see what happens. Okay. So did I turn off the repel? Oh, I didn't have it on. Okay, that makes sense. Doesn't really matter though. I don't think it was going to knock him off anyway. I think the angle was actually going to knock him over here. So... I don't want Lae'zel to go yet. So where are the detection cones? Okay, so we're going to dash with the Astarion. This is going to allow me to get all the way over behind him.
On the way.
I actually want to move as far back here against this wall as I can. And we're going to go into hiding. And then get a sneak attack here. Of course. Rolled a 6. So, with all of his stuff, all of his modifiers there, he just needed to roll a 7 to hit, and he couldn't do that. So, but that's why we put his back up against the wall, so if the animated armor does try and walk up and shove him, they can't shove him off a cliff here.
I will ascend.
So I would prefer not to use that. I would prefer... So 45% chance to hit. Okay. So this should kill him.
Victory awaits.
Okay, and then I think I can actually make it over there to this one by utilizing jump
Taking position.
and then getting up close. Now here we have an option of being able to possibly shove this one right off the edge. Of course. Okay, took 29 points of damage and it is now dead. And it's still lootable. You can still go down there and reach the animated armor to get to it. So now what we're going to do is start working on positioning ourselves to deal with Bernard when he comes back up, while at the same time taking out this last animated armor. And for that, I'm going to start moving Lae'zel back that way.
At the ready.
Victory awaits.
Okay, Bernard is now going to use his static discharge aura and dash. And on his next turn, he's going to move up the elevator. Now, moving up the elevator, pressing the buttons to move up does not take any movement distance, which means that him sitting down there, as soon as he reaches the button, he's going to be able to move up all 3 floors without using any of his movement speed. So here you can see for Lae'zel to get down there, it's 15, it's 13.6 meters. But for her to get over here to the descend button is only 10. So she'd take 10, hit that button 3 times, and then the additional 3 meters is the distance moving from the button out to where the doorway is. So hitting the button doesn't take any movement. So what that shows is that Bernard is going to be able to move up the elevator on this next turn. If he dashes, which he's probably going to want to do, he's not going to be able to attack at the end of that turn. So that is useful for us to kind of pre-position our characters away from this central spot here. Right? We want to get them moved away from that spot. We still do have another animated armor to take care of. Okay, those were both very low percentage chance shots to hit, so I wasn't expecting to hit them anyway. But now I want to move Lae'zel out of the way and end her turn. Now, Astarion, we can dash with him. We can move him out here. He's outside the detection cone. He can hide. Okay, and that kills it. Now we can move Astarion back.
Quickly.
Again, away from this central area.
No choice but to keep going.
And now for my bard, I'm just going to go into hiding.
I don't need any attention right now.
This is my
And
time.
will...
Fleet of foot.
And I'm going to go into hiding.
Laying low.
And now we'll see what Bernard does when he comes up the elevator. So he is dashing. and he's going after Astarion. Which I should have probably known. He's the closest one that he can see. So I probably should have anticipated that and kept Lae'zel a little bit closer, like in here, instead of all the way back where she is. Okay, so now yeah, I did misplay that. So when you're doing this yourself, keep Lae'zel as the closest one to the pad that can be seen. If I would have left Astarion in hiding and used some other method to kill the animated armor, then Bernard wouldn't have seen him and would have gone after the only person they could see, which is Lae'zel. I just misplayed that. Thankfully, he's got a low amount of hit points. But now he's moved to a point where he's going to be out of range of a lot of our characters. So, let's see what we can do here.
Forever dauntless.
So if I move Will out to here, I think that's still going to be out of range.
Fleet of foot.
Of his Eldritch Blasts, if I had to guess. Nope, it is within range. Okay, so we're going to try and get him to be pushed. So we want to make sure that Repelling Blast is on. It is. Okay, didn't even need to push him. He just outright killed him. So, wasn't the play that I wanted it to do, but it did work out. If he didn't kill him with the Eldritch Blast, then it would have pushed him here, and Astarion then would have been able to use his 2 bonus actions to, 1, disengage, and then dash, so that way he wouldn't incur any attacks of opportunity, and he would have been able to maneuver out of the way and get Lae'zel closer, so then on the next turn, if we didn't kill him, then Bernard would have gone after Lae'zel and not him. But it did work out. So
What path lies before me?
we'll get everybody grouped back up. Oh boy, I missed something. I missed something. I was too focused on explaining how I was going to fight with Bernard, and I missed getting an item from Bernard. Okay. Well, we're not going to do it now. But to explain it, when you talk to Bernard, every one of those books opened up a dialogue option. All of those dialogue options do something different. And 3 of them, well, 2 of them are helpful. They give you an item. 1 of them is benign in that it's a cool little interaction with him, but doesn't do anything good or anything bad. And the 4th option is going to cause him to attack. And one of those 2 items that we got from him was the Potion of Greater Healing. The other dialogue option causes a ring to appear on the table here. And that ring is called Guiding Light. When you wear the Guiding Light ring, another button appears here on the platform. And it takes you down to it unlocks a new area. It takes you to the basement of the Arcane Tower, and there are some lootable items down there. Guiding Light is also a useful ring in and of itself, in that it gives you a cantrip to light up dark areas. But, and this is actually the first time that I've made this mistake. So
What's inside?
let's go over and loot Bernard here. So, oh, guiding light is on his body. Okay. Good. I wasn't expecting that. I guess every other time that I've talked to Bernard, I've gotten guiding light first. And that's why it was not in his inventory. The only thing that was here was the key and the light of creation. So that's good that it's here. So saved me the embarrassment of having to do it, of not being able to loot that area. Guiding light is what I just talked about. This is going to open up something else for us. The antique key, obviously, we're going to pick up, and then you get the light of creation. Now, the light of creation is a great weapon against specific types of targets, and if you are then able to overcome the downside to it. So the overcharge ability 1, it does additional lightning damage, and it does that lightning damage all of the time. So with this,
I crave blood.
I don't think I picked it up, did I? No, I didn't. So here, if you compare this to what Lae'zel is wearing or utilizing right now with the Githyanki Greatsword, she's always doing 1d4 psychic damage, and she's doing 2d6 plus 4 slashing damage. The Light of Creation has the same maximum damage, because instead of 2d6, it's 1d10 plus 4, but she does 1d6 lightning damage. It's still a +1 weapon, so +1 to hit on both of them. The only difference is the minimum, because she's doing 1d10 instead of 2d6. That minimum is now dropped by 1. The bonus that the halberd gives you is the extra reach ability. The extra reach perk means that the weapon has an increased range. You can use it from farther away. Now, that being farther away means that you can attack a target and then move away without triggering an attack of opportunity, because you are too far away from it to trigger an attack of opportunity from the target. This can also be incredibly useful if you're going with a build such as Polearm Master or something like that can help you utilize that extra reach better when targets approach you, and you get off that attack of opportunity when they approach you, not just when they're trying to move away. So the Light of Creation is a great weapon. As long as you can overcome the possibility of the stun. And there are multiple ways that you can do that through both equipment and spell choices. So the Light of Creation, if you run up against targets specifically, like in our case, where Bernard was resistant to psychic damage, if he's not resistant to lightning damage, then you can change over to the Light of Creation, and as long as you have the ability to offset the chance to stun yourself, then this can be just as good as another type of weapon in those situations. So the Light of Creation is something that I'm going to keep on me as one of those situational weapons where I get into a time when psychic damage isn't going to do anything for me. But for right now, it is going to be a little dangerous to use because of that possibility of being stunned.
No,
so
never mind.
I'm going to have to make a choice as to what I want to do with Lae'zel. I've already gone Great Weapon Master with her, but especially there's a build specifically for paladins that I've had experience with in tabletop, where you get paladins that are that take a feat into Polearm Master and utilize spears, which are the only one-handed polearm that can be used with a shield, to great effect. Here, with the Light of Creation being a halberd, it's a two-handed weapon, so taking another feat into Polearm Master to get the benefits of that, as well as Great Weapon Master, could be intriguing, but it's something that I'm going to kind of play with a little bit as we go here. So, but it is a great weapon to have, and something that, again, I don't ever want to miss out on, but you can feel free to do whatever you would like. So I just
These boots have seen everything.
put on Guiding Light, and now you can see that the basement button has appeared. So you can, again, loot the animated armors. So they all have heavy crossbows that you can pick up. I'm not interested in picking them up to sell them. They're just so darn heavy at this point. I do have some additional carry weight, I guess, with the others, but I'm just not interested in as much. So we're going to go down to the basement. Now down here, you have buttons to take you back to the top floor or to ascend, which is going to take you up to the level that we entered with Astarion, which previously was the lowest level that we could reach. It is now no longer that. It's the basement here. So let's go do some explorations real quick. We will pick up the water. There are some more Timask spores here on the desk. Whoops.
But that'll fit in my pack.
Don't touch me.
Some nice scrolls. Just a regular book.
Tread lightly.
We have another basilisk oil.
All's well that ends not as bad as it could have.
And if you've been paying attention, that is 2 of them that we have in our inventory. And we do have 2 drow left out there if we would like to unpetrify them. And then we can make our way up here to this top area. Okay, we're going to again move up close to the chest so it shouldn't be trapped. And we get the Sparks Wall. Some good arrows, a scroll of Remove Curse, which is great. Dehurst's Diary. Just a diary. Talks about a cleric of Mystra studying the magical properties of the Underdark. And the researches that they were doing out here. But all the rest of this I should be able to take. Okay, just another regular book. The Staff of Arcane Blessing is here, and we're going to look at all these here in a second.
Let's move.
More Tongues of Madness. And these now have alchemical uses, which they did not in early access. So you want to pick them up. Okay, nothing in particular in this book. Whoops.
Yes, let's.
Okay, and then we can take the metal door here. And now you can see where the metal door brings us out. This is the area that we entered from the main door where Astarion came in. So if you come up this entrance here, there's a lever on this side, which unlocks the door for you. Alright? So now let's look at what we picked up. So I don't need the guiding light anymore, just for the light cantrip, which is good, but I'm not going to be utilizing it. What's my other ring? Blessed Mercy. I definitely want to keep that. We already talked about the Light of Creation. Okay, so we picked up the Sparks Wall. The wearer can't be electrocuted, and it grants resistance to lightning damage. So the wearer can't be electrocuted. That's interesting. There's something that plays on that ability, right? And I don't know if I still have them on me. Or am I wearing them? No, I'm not wearing them. Okay, I must not have them on me. Well, let's look. Spring step. Speedy light feet. Okay, so yeah, it's not in here. So I might have them in my chest, in my camp chest. I don't think I sold them. But the Sparks Wall means you can't be electrocuted. There is a set of boots that if you start your turn standing in water, then the water becomes or if you move into water, then the water becomes electrified. Well, if water becomes electrified and you're standing in it, you're going to get electrocuted. Well, this keeps you from doing that. And then those same boots say that when you start your turn on an electrified surface, you're going to gain lightning charges from doing that. So having those boots and wearing this ring means that those boots no longer have the downside of possibly electrocuting you. And you might be able to utilize water that you create, such as through the Create Water spell or through the Rain Dancer. Did I get rid of the Rain Dancer? Or is it on somebody else? Or through the Rain Dancer staff to create a water surface and then over some enemies and then move your character who has those boots onto that water surface and electrocute everybody who's on that surface. Electrocuted targets or targets that are standing in water take additional bonus damage from lightning attacks, so it can really start making Will's Call Lightning spell much more damaging. If they are standing on a water surface before he casts it. So having the Sparks Wall for him, meaning that you can't be electrocuted, and take that 1d4 damage at the start of every turn, can be very, very useful when you combine it and you synergize with those boots. Gaining resistance to lightning damage is just great to begin with. So there's no downside to that. So having that as a ring that you want to equip is going to be, good no matter what. So we also picked up the Staff of Arcane Blessing. Now the Staff of Arcane Blessing is very interesting in that it allows you to cast Bless, basically, as a spell action once per long rest off of the staff. However, and that's what's getting you your bonus to your saving throws and attack rolls, it also gains you an additional 2d4 to spell attack rolls, which is very, very useful, which is something that Bless doesn't grant you. Mistra's Blessing is kind of like an upscale version of Bless to allow you to make better attacks with your spells that need attack rolls. And a lot of wills do, with Scorching Ray and Eldritch Blast both needing an attack roll. That can be very, very useful for will to utilize. Okay, so a couple of very, very useful items here that have been picked up to help will out almost specifically, or a magic user out almost specifically, and that would make sense being that we're in the Arcane Tower, right? So that gives us, you can see now that looking around, we've cleared out the Arcane Tower and its environs, and that is a good place for us to save our adventure here. Now remember, in an hour we're going to be coming back to work through the Paladin live stream. But for now, I think we're going to end our live stream here, and I hope to see you in an hour, get a chance to take a break, maybe get something to eat and that sort of stuff, give my voice a rest here, and I will see you in an hour for the Paladin live stream. So as usual, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today. Without your support, none of this would be possible. So this is me, Commander Jorval, saying until next time, fare thee well.